Hello, how are you doing? It's been a minute since I've recorded something on YouTube, but it's good to do this recording. I am right now in Papua New Guinea. It's a bunch of islands in the Pacific Ocean, just north of Australia, and I'm doing some work for a client. And it's interesting. So this is my week 2, just getting underway, and I will be here for another 6 days before I travel back home in Perth. So this is the month of July. The date today is 11th of July 2026, and something interesting that I'm kind of looking at and considering is 20 years ago, and I do not know the exact date, but it will be in the month of probably June or July of 2006. That's the season when I actually started my journey of walking with the Lord. And I say it was a journey because there was just not one single moment. However, it was a series of events that culminated in me eventually surrendering my heart and my life to the Lord, and it was an event like never before. And so what I have been thinking about is during this period in sort of July of this year, just to reminisce, look back, remember the journey that's been, and where God's taken me from, and what the experiences and encounters have been like. And I am looking at this as a series which I have dubbed 20 years of walking with the Lord. So in today's session, I'll kind of try to talk about the call. And so this will be episode 1, which I just look at it as the call, which will be more focused on how did it actually happen for me to get to say yes to the Lord. And if I didn't say where am I right now, so this is my cabin, or if you wanna, it's not a hotel room really, it's just a cabin structure in the camp, because this is a gold mine, and so there's a mine site just nearby. And today is a Saturday, so I took some time off from work to get some rest, and so I'll be back to work tomorrow. Now let's get back into the call. So every time I think about my life and where it was and how it was when I was little, I remember there were moments when I'll be lying on the field at home and I'm staring up in the sky and I'm closing my eyes maybe, and I'm sort of asking myself, who am I? You know, those difficult questions that kind of like those existential kind of questions. Who am I? What am I doing here? Where am I going to end? And that started way when I was younger, like I think probably when I was 5 or 6 years old, I started having those thoughts and asking those questions. And it's funny, also interesting, that my son still asks me those sorts of questions right now. He's a 6-year-old, so it looks like we've got something in common. And so those sort of questions I used to ask myself. But when I went to high school, I encountered some radical Christians and believers, and praying for people, and people falling down and whatnot. And so I remember attending one of the night fellowships, not necessarily to encounter God, but just to see the theatrics that was happening there, and to sort of understand why would people fall under the power of God. I mean, I wanted to also experience it. And so I went in there. This would have been in 2002, around there, when I was in the second year of high school. And long story short, I was coerced into getting saved. And so I just said yes because there was so much pressure to say yes, and I said yes, but I really did not necessarily have like encounter or true encounter with the Lord. Long story short, I never sustained my walk with the Lord because it just never was there in the first instance. And then, so 2 years later, I'm about to finish my high school, and I've got my cousin, and she sort of, mentioning why it's important to have a relationship with God, and I'm like, yeah, thank you, I get it, I'll think about it, etc. And so when I finished my high school, so this is in 2005, which is that gap year where I'm sort of just staying at home and helping mom with work and all that. It's just on Sundays I used to go to church because that's what we do. All right, so I used to go to the Pentecostal church, which is in our local market, and it was good. It was refreshing. Actually, I'd say this, like, just sitting under the word and listening to the preacher. And I wasn't born again at the time, but it was always different. Like, it always just felt so refreshing going to church on a Sunday and just living church. It's just like you feel like you're clean, you're new, you're refreshed, and that was just so special. And so I, slowly just kind of kept. So I don't know. It's probably the voice of God was just tugging at my heart and kind of telling me, hey, dude, why you feel clean and why you feel good and why you feel all that is because of what God is actually doing. And so for my call, I want to think and believe it was more like a journey more than just like a snap point in time where like something would have happened. But the ultimate culmination of that journey. Oh, and by the way, let me just quickly mention this, that one of the things that happened is my mom, every time she would introduce me to people, like she liked to introduce me and everybody else, all of our sons, she'd be like, oh, this is Elvis, my last born son, and he's finished high school, he's at home now, he's gonna go to uni next year. Man, he's born again. And mom is introducing me and she's saying, oh, he's born again. And I'm like, oh, but obviously I can't say no, but the truth is I'm not even born again. But yeah, look, so that's what happened. But now let's talk about the real event. So there's this evening, I don't know what actually happened, but because I never used to, tend after our cattle in the evenings. I never used to do it, but there's just this one evening, I don't know why I decided to. And so I shepherded our cattle and took them down the river on the farm, and so it's like there's like trees, forest, and the cows are just grazing out in the fields, and I'm out in the field, just in the trees, just standing and staring, and the sun is striking through. Like the sun is going down, it's evening-ish, it's probably between 5 and 6 p.m. in the evening. The sun is going down and it's sort of striking through the trees, and the rays are hitting my eyes, and I hear a voice in my head. It's not like a loud voice, but it's a voice in my heart, in my head, or in my heart, wherever, I don't know. The voice says, hey Elvis, what are you doing? And I'm like, yeah, I'm looking after cows. So I sort of respond, and then the voice asks, and then what are you gonna do after that? And I say, yeah, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna have dinner, take a shower, take rest. And the voice says, and then what are you gonna do after that? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and do it again. And the voice just wouldn't stop, and it kept asking me, and then what are you gonna do? And then what are you gonna do? And then what are you gonna do? And then what? And I went saying, okay, well, and I'm gonna go do uni, and I'm gonna get a job, and then I'm done with my job. I'm gonna, I don't know, I'm gonna get married and have children, and then I got to a point where I said, and then I'll be done with life, and I'm gonna die. And when I got to that point and I said, I'm going to be done with this life and I'm going to die, the voice asked me, and then when you die, what are you going to do? And I did not have an answer. Yeah, I did not have an answer. And that's when it hit me that you can do so much. You can live your life. You can achieve all that you want to achieve. You can have the best career, best job, best family, best everything. But then when it's all said and done, and then what? What are you going to do next? When you're done, you'll have no ability, no potency, no strength, no control. And that's where he caught me and he arrested me and he said, the end of your thinking is where I begin. And that's where he basically said, hey, what you don't know is what I know. And when you're at the end of your rope, that's where God comes in. I left that field, headed back home, and I knew right there and then that there was no other way I was going to live this life except living for him and following him and seeking him. And he guided me, and he started to draw me into his word, and I started reading his word like a madman. And in the upcoming episodes of my 20 years of walking with the Lord, I will dive into a number of different other experiences of just the journey, the things I got right, the things I got wrong, the challenges, the experiences, and the beauty of just having a life fully surrendered to the Lord, and knowing that I may not have everything perfectly working for me, I may not have the best going for me, but I've got the most perfect Lord in my life. Hey, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.